So, continuing this conversation around Meg the Stallion and Klay Thompson and their recent breakup, where she alleges that Klay Thompson cheated on her and she therefore had to end the relationship. I said in my previous video that, I don't support cheating really at all. I mean, I don't think it's good, but also unfortunately, it's really not surprising to me that a professional athlete would be found cheating. That's one of the least surprising things out there. But nevertheless, that doesn't make it any less painful. It doesn't make it any less hurtful. And obviously, you have a lot of ladies who are chiming in because she made, their relationship was very public. They had obvious, open, public displays of affection. She wrote songs about him. They did a lot of different things. And on camera, on the gram, to the whole world, it seemed like they were having a lot of fun. Now, I will say women were seeing it a particular way and men were seeing it a particular way. A lot of ladies I saw loved it. They loved the aesthetic. They loved Meg Thee Stallion getting with somebody who was successful, handsome, light skinned, made more money than her. Ladies loved that. And you had a lot of dudes who were looking at it as just a temporary fling, right? And so there was already there was already, I believe, somewhat of a split narrative on how the general population of women were viewing their relationship and the general population of men. But nevertheless, since she's come out and has alleged that Klay Thompson has cheated on her and that's why she's had to break up with him, that's opened up a larger conversation around this whole idea of cheating. And I ran across this particular post of a woman saying that all light-skinned men cheat. And honestly, y'all, I had to LOL because, I will say all of my light-skinned boyfriends cheated on me. And I only have three. My first two boyfriends were light-skinned, or lighter than me at least, and they cheated. And my last boyfriend ended up being my husband, and he's darker than me. So, and that wasn't necessarily on purpose. It's just I ultimately ended up dating who I was physically attracted to. But when I saw this, I kind of thought about just my own anecdotal experience, and I'm like, yo, that's kind of funny because the dudes who were lighter than me definitely cheated. So, anyways, but I just wanted to react to this. My second thought is obviously this is not necessarily true. There are light-skinned men who don't cheat. There are dark-skinned men who do cheat. Like that's just, I mean, this is just an ignorant comment, but it's these kinds of celebrity relationships always bring pervading beliefs and ideas to the public discourse. And there are a lot of ladies, I believe, who have at the same time there's a deep attraction to light-skinned men, but at the same time a deep disdain for light-skinned men, particularly light-skinned black men, because I think because I think personally the insecurities that some black women have around colorism and dark skin, and to a certain extent the desire that some black women have to have closer proximity to whiteness, and a light-skinned black man offers a sense of closer proximity to whiteness. And so some may envy that, some may feel attracted to that, some may feel insecure by that, some may feel like he looks prettier than me, he looks better than me, all these different things. And so I do notice sometimes ladies will have this like love-hate relationship with light-skinned men, where in one instance they accuse them of being, cheaters or being too pretty or being pretty boys or whatever. But at the same time, they are very sexually attractive to them. And I think that's one reason a lot of ladies were supporting this relationship that Klay Thompson had with Meg Thee Stallion, because the aesthetics. With that said, I wanted to look at some of the different feedback and just respond to it in the moment. So this one right here says Klay Thompson went from being considered a white guy to a light-skinned ninja after he cheated. Now, I thought this was funny because, as I've mentioned before, there is somewhat of a love-hate relationship I believe some ladies have with light-skinned men. And if they're there to valorize the light-skinned man, it's because they may see him as having closer proximity to whiteness. If they want to demonize him, it's because they may see him as still being a ninja, right? Still being a black man. So it's just it's interesting to see this. And of course, this is not every woman, this is not every situation, but we can all be very honest that there are obvious strong beliefs that are going on today as it relates to colorism and how it impacts not only women but men. Here it says they have both characteristics of both white and black. Okay. This one says it's the all men cheat chants that keep girls from knowing the difference and not being accountable for their choices. So that's true. It's like basically what he's saying is by you basically blaming men for all of your problems, that that robs you of the opportunity to actually be accountable for the things that you can do. So like literally every relationship failure can't always be somebody else's fault, and that's not to say, and that's not to say when it comes to cheating, I don't believe that if a person cheats on you, right, that that's the other person's fault. I don't believe that. Now I do understand that there might be things that can happen. There might be tension in the relationship, there might be discomfort, there might be different drama going on that might encourage a man or a woman to cheat. But at the end of the day, a person still has to decide if they want to cheat, and that's on them. They can't put that on somebody else. Here it says like a specific shade or every, so they're just asking what you're talking about. This one says I thought some of them was differences. So she's saying she thought some of the light skinned dudes was different. Well, why? Because they were light skinned? Like I don't get it. This one says Steph Curry is loyal and gets embarrassed on a weekly basis. So Steph Curry, I mean, that's a whole other conversation. I do know that there's been a little controversy with some of the different things Aisha Curry has said regarding their marriage and their relationship. But regardless, it appears that they have, a beautiful family. He seems as if he lives a really clean life, as a faithful guy. And as I alluded to before in my previous video, is it possible for professional athletes to be loyal? Absolutely. But in my opinion, and from what I've observed, I feel that men who have money, image, status, and women who are always in their face, for them not to cheat, they have to have a personal conviction to not do so. Like they just have to either be somebody who just believes cheating is really wrong or immoral. They obviously usually they have to have some strong spiritual conviction. Like for example, Steph Curry, he's been very open about his faith. He has a faith in God. Him and his wife, I think they're, maybe more liberal Christians, but they're, Christians nonetheless. And so there are some basic principles and ultimately a reverence for the Most High that he probably has that might keep him away from indulging in things that someone who may not be as concerned about their relationship with God or may not be as concerned of their spiritual walk might not really care about. So I'm saying like ultimately a man in that position to cheat, for him not to do so is because he has his own personal moral and oftentimes spiritual convictions to abstain. If none of that exists, if he doesn't consider himself being the most devout person, if he's just out there having a good time, then it's very easy to do that and indulge because of the lifestyle of athletes. This one says watch your mouth, that's your family. This one says can't cheat when I'm single. No, that's fair. You also just want to make sure, because sometimes I notice too, like some females be in they'll be in like full-blown relationships with dudes who are literally seen it as a fling. Like he's saying he's single and that's cool. I just hope if he is with somebody that they also know that he's single, because I have seen situations in which women are in full-blown relationships with a guy who's literally only seeing it as just like a situationship or literally only seeing it as just like a casual fling, and that can be very, very, very disturbing too. Man, this one's saying he's biracial. So because what does biracial have to do with him being light skinned? You can still be biracial and be light skinned. Like some of these answers are just like, what? So yeah, I thought this tweet was kind of ignorant. This person actually has me blocked, so I couldn't even save it. I don't even know why they have me blocked. I have no idea who she is. I didn't know who she is until somebody told me about it, but she blocked me for some reason. But nonetheless, yeah, I do think it's an ignorant tweet, but as I've mentioned before, it's these kinds of celebrity breakups, viral stories that expose beliefs that people have about dating, about ideas around dating, colorism, or whatever. And as I mentioned before, I do believe there's a particular complex that some Black women have about light-skinned men. Like there's this tension of really desiring them because they find them attractive and have a closer proximity to whiteness, as is the case of Klay Thompson, but then at the same time having disdain for them whether it's because they find them as more attractive than them because of their features, whether it's because they think they get more attention, see them as being close, having a closer proximity to whiteness, maybe having some jealousy, hence why you have, the colorism crybabies who complain about the exoticals. So whatever it may be, but nevertheless, there's this love-hate relationship that I see some black women have for light-skinned men, and I think it can be a mixture of desire and also envy. And in some instances, heartbreak if they got their hearts broken by light-skinned men. But anyways, y'all, that's what I think. What do y'all think about this whole thing? Obviously, this is not true. A man cheating has nothing to do with the complexion of his skin. If a man has a cheating heart, he will cheat whether he is, you know, Snow White or if he is the darkest thing out there. Like if he has a cheating heart, regardless, he's going to cheat. If he is a man that has integrity, or he's a moral man, or he's a man that believes in being faithful, he won't. He could be super dark, he could be light skinned, he could be. So a man cheating has nothing to do with the color of his skin. Now, with that said, a man who is considered attractive might have more opportunities to cheat if women are constantly on him, if women are constantly pursuing him, and if he doesn't have his own convictions, he might have more opportunities or more temptations to cheat. I would say, men that are attractive, that are considered attractive, might be more tempted and therefore might have a higher propensity of cheating because of the temptation, because of the opportunities. But that has less to do with their skin tone, and it has nothing to do with, really. And it's not really determined by their skin tone as much as it's determined by their overall desirability and ultimately who they are as a man. But that's what I have about this whole thing. What do y'all think? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Thank you so much for listening if you've gotten this far, and we'll talk later, okay? Bye.